All right, so today we got a Q&A. I asked you guys to drop me some questions on our Instagram at TGL Training. If you guys aren't already following us, we got a lot of good questions, so I'm going to run through as many of these as I can quick, but I won't be able to get to all of them. So if you guys want a part 2 and you enjoy this, if this video gets 200 likes, we will do a part 2 and answer more of your guys' questions. So first question, FangZio, I believe that's how you say the username, asked, basketball skills are so good during 1v1s, but once it gets to 5v5, I'm just straight trash. Number one is, I would say, add a time constraint to a lot of your one-on-ones. What I see a lot of people do is they catch the ball top of the key, they sit there, jab for 15 seconds. You have all the time in the world, where in a 5-on-5, that's just not really realistic. You guys have to be able to make quick decisions. So once you catch the ball, give yourself maybe 3 to 5 seconds. Same thing is, I would say, maybe add a spacing constraint. In a game, you don't have the entire court. You have help side defense. You have to play in a much tighter space. So maybe put 2 cones, say you have to play between those. Maybe you have the lane lines, you have to play between that. Next thing is, I would do on top of that is maybe try to add a help defender if you guys have it. Try to transition to some more 2-on-2, then some 3-on-3, mimicking these situations again with those spacing constraints and those time constraints. That's going to translate a lot better over to 5-on-5 than just straight 1-on-1s. But we also made a video on 5 better ways to play 1-on-1. I will link that up here and also in the description if you are interested in more of that. Next question, Lock Nation asks, how can I stand out from trainers in my city? Number one, just become more valuable, become more knowledgeable. I think a lot of trainers are trying to copy other people. They're really just a copy and paste version of the next guy. How can you get more valuable as a trainer? Become a better communicator. Most trainers that I see, they mumble their words, they're not clear. I was one of those, but this is something that I deliberately tried to work on. So become a better communicator, start to also understand skill acquisition, motor learning, how to actually get players better. When you can understand this, and it's gonna take time, you can improve the quality of your training sessions, which is then going to improve the quality of the results that you get for players, which players are then going to start to talk about, and you're going to start to get more kids. So really just trying to ask yourself, of what do people value as a basketball trainer, not trying to be anybody else. Be yourself. You have a competitive advantage in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you have a background in psychology. Lean into that. Maybe you have a background in strength conditioning. Start to lean into that. Maybe you have your own facility. Try to lean into that. You have a competitive advantage, and just strictly over time, deliberately try to work on your skills as a trainer. Just like players can work on their skills, there are skills that you need as a trainer. If you can continuously and deliberately work on those over time, you will be more valuable, more people will want to work with you, and you will be able to stand out. Next question, same person, Lock Nation 101 asked, is it possible to earn a full-time income training without renting out gym space? If you mean without renting out gym space, like having your own gym, it absolutely is. I think the biggest thing, especially heading into 2024, set really good, clear goals, but then also break down your goals. If it's for you, hey, I want to become a full-time trainer. What is full-time for you? Is it $4,000 a month? Is it $5,000 a month? What do you need to be charging? How many players do you need to have? Okay, maybe you need to be charging $200 per player and you need to have 50 players. Okay, maybe you're at 12 players. How do I get to 50? Start to just really break it down. It really just is math, and it's really about breaking it down, making it clear, and then giving yourself steps to do that. It's 100% possible. You really only need about 50 kids to be a full-time trainer, even if you're renting out of another gym. But the hardest thing as a gym owner is having a consistent space. So make sure you lock in a space, whether it's a consistent high school gym that you can rent or a facility like this that you can consistently get in and run your business out of. And then hopefully, if you can go and get your own gym, which I think really helps just expand the business overall and your ability to be a good trainer and be full-time. All right, next question, it's B_Rose. Do you need to be a good player to be a good trainer? Short answer, no. I kind of like to compare it to a strength conditioning coach. If you're out of shape as a strength conditioning coach, most people who just see you are not going to maybe respect you as much. Same thing with being a basketball trainer. If you're not good at basketball, it's going to be harder to get respect from your players and get buy-in. Now, past a certain point, I don't think it really matters, right? If you have 2 in-shape strength conditioning coaches, what's the difference? The guy who gets the results and the guy who doesn't. So past a certain point, it's not about who's more in shape or who's not. If you have a guy who's in crazy shape but he sucks at training, it doesn't really matter, right? So you need to be, to a certain degree, good enough. You need to be able to demonstrate. A lot of basketball players are visual learners, so they need to be able to see this stuff. You need to be able to demonstrate it, but you don't need to be an NBA player to be one of the best trainers in the world. For me, I only played up to about college, played D3, played for 1 year, and then I dropped out of college. To me, I think that's good enough. Now, what's going to make me a good trainer, a great trainer, is my ability to actually train. But I need to get that buy-in, be good enough where players can respect me as a player, so that way I can show them, hey, I am a good trainer because of the knowledge that I have. How good you are as a player doesn't necessarily translate to how good you are as a trainer, because they are 2 different skills. Playing is one thing, Coaching, training, teaching is a completely different skill. Next question, Noah Bucket asks, what are some small-sided games for making reads on secondary defenders and help? I will throw 2 quick examples from our recent small-sided games course on the screen so you guys can get 2 examples. And then if you guys want more, we'll drop the link in the description for our full small-sided games course where you guys can get 100 other small-sided games just like this. Start here off the dribble, and then defense is gonna start right behind me. I have to initiate contact into him to start the drill, and then I'm getting downhill, anything inside the paint, floaters, layups. There you go. Hey. There you So you're gonna try to pressure the ball. My goal is to get the ball into Andrew. From there, it's into a handoff. So I can backdoor or I can take the handoff. You would have to go over the top. And then from there, we're just playing. Try to get 3 dribbles off that handoff. You can get a shot or you can take it all the way downhill. I don't want to confuse it for the drill. Next question, it's B_Rose. Shout out to you first off, you asked a ton of good questions. Thoughts on implicit versus explicit teaching? Will you ever go and specifically show a player detail? Yes, but I think most people have it backwards. Most people will teach explicitly first and then will maybe try to go implicitly, right? For those of you who don't know, explicit is when you're verbally teaching somebody and they know exactly what it is that they're learning. Implicit learning or implicit teaching is when they are learning without really consciously being aware. I will always start with implicit. I will put them in situations, see if they can learn it first. What most people do is someone can already do a move, then they try to go explicitly teach it, and then they consciously think about it, and then it messes them up and they can't do it. When in reality, they can go and do it in a game, and that's what matters. So I'm always going to start with implicit learning, implicit teaching. If they can't do it, I will slowly work my way towards explicit if it is needed, but also you guys can just kind of give it time. Maybe they don't get it the first day. Doesn't mean you need to immediately go and explicitly teach them every single little detail. Give it time. Learning is not linear. Sometimes it takes time for them to get it, and I would much rather teach them implicitly because it's going to translate over to games a lot more effectively. Next question, _Amer Halwani asked, how many lifts, group trainings, individual trainings should we be doing per week? I would say at a baseline for most people, obviously it's going to depend on where you guys are at and what you need, is I would say 3 to 4 lifts per week, focusing on maybe upper lower or maybe just 3 days a week of full body. Again, it kind of depends on what you need. And then I would be doing 3 group sessions per week and then 2 individual training sessions per week. And then maybe in the nights getting some shooting work. But again, it all depends on what you guys need as players. If you have a tough time transferring skills over to games, I would be doing maybe more pickup, more small-sided games versus maybe if you're a great player in games, but you need to tighten up on some certain specific skills, then maybe you can do a little bit more individual focused and skill focus, maybe 1-on-0, things like that, where it's a lot more dumbed down as opposed to a lot more game-like. Next question, it's B_Rose asked, best resources for someone looking to learn skills training. Best place to be is masteryhoops.com. This is a question that me and my business partner Coleman Ayers, By Any Means Basketball, for those of you that know him as that. We asked the same question when we were just kind of starting out maybe 3-4 years ago, and we decided to build a platform for people with that same question. How do you get better as a trainer? How do you build a training business? How do you improve as a coach? What are the best resources to learn? We put all of that into one platform. So if you are interested in that, we have tons of videos, resources, really just everything that you need to learn to be a better coach or a trainer. I'll put the link in the description below if you are interested in checking that out. Next question is, how would you change your training for a kid versus a high school athlete versus a college or a pro? A simple answer for this is the younger the player is, the less specific and broad I'm going to be. The older the player is or the more advanced the player is in their career, the more specific I'm going to be. If I'm working with a pro player and they're a point guard, I know they're gonna be a point guard. They're not magically gonna grow 10 inches and become a big guy, right? Versus little Johnny who's 10 years old, who may be 6 feet, and most coaches are gonna say, hey, we're gonna do post-up stuff. That kid may never grow again, and he's gonna have to be a point guard at the next level. So I don't wanna box that kid in versus that pro guy or the older player kind of already is boxed in. They're set in their role, they're set in their ways. Not necessarily a bad way, but I kind of know how that player plays, what they're going to need to succeed at their current level. I'm not worried about the 10-year-old succeeding in the 4th grade travel league. I'm not worried about him performing good and making sure he shoots 40% from 3. I'm worried about his overall development and building him into a complete player that can continue to build for the long term. Versus those older players, we're going to be a lot more specific to really what they're doing in games and what they need at the current level that they're at, and a lot more worried about their current performance. Next question is, how do you start growing your clientele? I think this is very simple, definitely not easy to do, but a very simple answer is I would always say, hey, I'm gonna try to over deliver and I'm gonna do more than what I'm paid for now, and someday I'll get paid more than what I'm doing. So this is a quote that I always had, especially when I was training players that would give me a hard time, or I'd train players that maybe weren't at the level that I wanted to be at, or maybe they weren't, as into it as they really wanted to be. And I couldn't really choose or get to work with high quality athletes, not necessarily good athletes, because I'll work with anybody, but people that really wanted to be there, right? Especially at the prices that I was charging, it was tough. But I always said, you know what, it doesn't matter who's in front of me, I'm gonna give this kid the best session that he's ever had. I'm going to make this the most enjoyable. I'm going to give this kid everything that I have. And over time, even if you only have 10 kids, but those 10 kids stick with you and they go and tell their friends, hey, this is the guy, he does a great job, he really cares about my kid, you are going to grow your clientele. I think a lot of people are worried about, oh, I wanna go train NBA players, or I only wanna work with these players. And this is why I think a lot of trainers don't end up making to where they wanna be, because they're not worried about the people they have in front of them. They always, I don't wanna train that kid, he's not good enough, or, I've trained thousands of kids that were not that good at basketball, but I enjoyed it. They loved the game, but they weren't good, right? But most people don't want to do that because I just want to go train the NBA players. These kids aren't worth my time. You're never going to grow your clientele, and you're really never going to go and train NBA players if that's your mindset. So worry about the kids that are in front of you and give them the best damn session that they had. Continue to improve your product so your product is good, and then more kids are going to stay and more kids are going to come into your gym as well, and it's just going to grow that way. All right, last two questions, going to go through these quick. Next question are, what are the main keys to growing your social media? A, be somewhat different. B, provide value. C, do it as consistently as you possibly can. Next question, what's the best way to lose body fat? Eat less than what you're burning, slowly over time. Just like your skills don't get better overnight, you're not gonna lose body fat overnight. Slowly over time, just eat a little bit less. Best thing that I did is I did a cut from like 175 to 150 over a span of a handful of months. All I did was say, hey, maybe I'm eating cheese on a regular basis. I'll eat the same thing every day. I eat cheese, remove the cheese. Now I just eliminated 300 calories per day. I'd get to a plateau, eliminate one other thing. Maybe you eat chips, eliminate chips. Keep eating everything else you're eating, just eliminate one thing. Maybe you drink juices, just stop drinking juices. You're gonna drop your calories, you keep eating the same thing. You're gonna be ingesting less calories, you're gonna be burning more. You're going to slowly over time lose fat. That's simple answer. Obviously it's not easy to do, but it's not that difficult. So if you enjoyed the video, if you guys want some more questions answered, you can drop the questions below, but also give this video a like. It gets 200 likes, we'll do another one. We're also trying to get to 100,000 subs, so if you guys enjoyed this video, want to see more like it, please drop a sub, we would really appreciate it. Happy New Year, let's kill it. See you guys soon, peace.